3 years ago, my daughter kicked me out of the house, giving me only $10 for the road and told me never to come back. After years of silence and lies, she suddenly called and asked to live in my new $900,000 house. But I knew it wasn't about family. It was about money. I decided to teach her a lesson once and for all. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. The phone's shrill ring cut through the evening silence like a blade. I set down my crystal tumbler and stared at the glowing screen. Sophia. After 3 years of nothing, she was calling. Rain drummed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of my Back Bay home office, city lights blurring into watercolor streaks across Charles River. I'd been reviewing my property portfolios when the interruption came. The mahogany desk reflected the soft glow of my banker's lamp. Papers spread like battle plans across its polished surface. I let it ring twice more before answering. "Hello, Sophia." "Daddy." Her voice carried that same manipulative sweetness I remembered, dripping with artificial warmth. "I've missed you so much. I wanted to invite you to family dinner this Saturday." My fingers found the edge of an old family photo tucked between investment documents. 3 smiling faces from another lifetime. I flipped it face down. Family dinner. The words tasted bitter. How thoughtful. We could catch up, you know. Maybe start fresh. Her voice cracked slightly, the practiced innocence wavering. I know it's been complicated. Complicated. I leaned back in my leather chair, feet settling on the desk. 3 years ago, you threw me out with $10. Quite the memory gap you have there. Silence stretched between us, broken only by the rain's steady percussion. I could hear her breathing change, shallow and quick. "I don't understand what wealth you're talking about, Daddy. I just thought, of course you don't know." The lie was so transparent, it was almost insulting. Everyone in our old circle knew about my success. Property records were public. My transformation from broken exile to millionaire hadn't exactly been subtle. "Tell me, what's the real reason for this sudden family reunion?" Her voice became smaller, more desperate. "Can't a daughter just want to see her father?" I picked up my tumbler, swirling the amber liquid, the weight of real crystal, the burn of aged whiskey. Luxuries that would have been fantasies 3 years ago. Saturday evening, I assume, at the old house. "Yes, Sixth. Mom's making that roast you used to love." "Your mother," I paused, letting the words hang. "Still playing house with Bradley, I presume." "They're married now," she said quietly. "Congratulations to the happy couple." My voice remained level, controlled, professional. "I'll be there." "Really?" The relief in her voice was pathetic. "Oh, Daddy, that's wonderful. We can—" I said, "I'll be there. This should be educational for all of us." I ended the call without waiting for her response. The satisfying click of disconnection echoed in the sudden quiet. The city lights blurred through the rain-streaked glass as memories I'd buried began clawing their way back to the surface. I rose from my chair, joints protesting slightly. The whiskey burned as I drained the glass, then walked through my house like a man surveying conquered territory. Each room showcased transformation from the Italian marble foyer to the gourmet kitchen with its professional-grade appliances. But Sophia's call had cracked something open. Memory fragments spilled through like water through a broken dam. The living room triggered at first. Soft leather sectional, cashmere throws, view of manicured gardens. So different from that summer afternoon in 2022 when I'd walked into our cramped Worcester house and found my life dismantled. Suitcases by the front door, Victoria on the couch next to a man I'd never seen before. Tall, graying at the temples, wearing my spot like he owned it. Bradley's moving in, she'd announced without looking up from her phone. You need to leave. No preamble, no explanation. 28 years of marriage ended with the casual tone she'd used to dismiss a telemarketer. I moved through my current kitchen, fingers trailing across granite countertops. The contrast was stark, then versus now. That day, dirty dishes had filled our old sink. Today, my kitchen was pristine, magazine-worthy. Sophia had emerged from her bedroom, overnight bags slung over her shoulder like she was heading to college, but her eyes held something I'd never seen before. Cold calculation. You're a failure, Dad, she'd said, voice steady as a judge, pronouncing sentence. Mom's right. You don't belong here anymore. The $10 bill she'd pressed into my palm was still crisp, probably fresh from an ATM. For gas, she'd explained, as if the gesture was generosity rather than insult. The memory followed me upstairs to my master bedroom. Silk curtains, king-sized bed with Egyptian cotton sheets, reading chair positioned perfectly to catch morning light from the river. Everything chosen deliberately, expensively. The Motel 6 room had smelled of industrial disinfectant and broken dreams. Thin walls, thinner mattress, the constant hum of highway traffic just beyond cracked parking lot asphalt. I'd paid the weekly rate up front, cheaper that way, the desk clerk had explained, counting my crumpled bills twice, instant noodles for dinner, instant coffee for breakfast. The kind of existence I'd thought was permanently behind me after decades of steady work, careful saving, building what I'd believed was an unshakable foundation. On my nightstand sat a silver-framed photograph, the last family portrait before everything crumbled. Sophia, at 26, still playing the devoted daughter role. Victoria, with her perfect smile, already planning my disposal. And me, oblivious as a lamb approaching slaughter. Those first weeks had been the hardest. Construction cleanup jobs, restaurant, dishwashing, anything that paid cash and didn't require references. My hands had grown rough again, shoulders aching from labor. I hadn't done since my 20s. But somewhere in that industrial-scented room, between the shame and the anger, something else had taken root. Determination, the kind that grows best in darkness. I touched the photograph's cool surface. The family in the silver frame smiled back at me. Strangers from another life. Tomorrow would remind him exactly how far he'd traveled from that broken man with $10. Morning light streamed through my bedroom windows, turning Charles River into molten gold. 6:30 a.m., and I was already awake. Old habits from construction days, though now I woke to Italian espresso instead of instant coffee desperation. The kitchen welcomed me with the soft hum of expensive appliances. I ground fresh beans, the rich aroma filling the space like incense in a cathedral of my own making. While the machine worked its magic, I unfolded the Wall Street Journal and reviewed overnight market movements. Strange how routine could mask revolution. 3 years ago, I'd been scanning classified ads for day labor. Now I was calculating dividend yields on a 7-figure portfolio. August 2022, $15,000 from the divorce settlement, my share of what Victoria had deemed worthless assets. The condemned house in Beacon Hill had looked like urban decay made manifest. Broken windows, sagging porch, foundation issues that scared off every other buyer. But I'd seen potential where others saw problems. My office files held the proof of that first gamble. The purchase contract, framed now like a diploma, showed the sale price, $42,000. 4 months of 16-hour renovation days, learning plumbing and electrical work through YouTube videos and library books. December. Closing, $17,000, $65,000 profit, my first real victory. The portfolio folder held the rest of the story. Property after property, each purchase more ambitious than the last. Winter 2022 became spring 2023, became summer success. Every profit reinvested, every lesson learned and applied. The turning point had come in October. A foreclosure in Cambridge. Owner defaulted on renovation loans, bank desperate to unload. I'd walked through the half-finished shell and seen what others missed. Premium location. Solid bones. Work already started. $200,000 purchase price. 6 months of careful restoration. $420,000 sale price. That profit had changed everything. I sipped my espresso, rich and complex, nothing like the bitter gas station coffee that had sustained me through those early months. The bank statement in my desk drawer showed the current total, $10. $4 million net worth that would make Victoria choke on her morning smoothie. My phone showed missed calls from yesterday evening, real estate agents with new opportunities, contractors bidding on projects, investors wanting partnerships, the kind of problems successful people faced. Every nail I'd driven, every tile I'd laid, every sleepless night spent planning the next move. All of it had led here to this kitchen, this view, this moment of quiet triumph before the storm. The photo collage on my refrigerator told the visual story. Before and after shots of each property, newspaper clippings about neighborhood revitalization, award letters from the Boston Real Estate Board, evidence of resurrection. Saturday's dinner invitation wasn't random. Sophia was drowning, probably Victoria too, and they needed a life preserver. The $10 gift giver was ready to discuss terms. I finished my coffee and moved to the office, settling into my chair with the satisfaction of a general surveying a battlefield. Property listings waited on my computer screen. Investment opportunities that would have been impossible dreams just months ago. The morning stretched ahead, full of possibilities. For the first time in years, I controlled every single one. Then my phone rang again. 40 hours passed before the second call came. I'd spent Thursday morning reviewing acquisition contracts, fresh coffee steaming beside financial projections that would have seemed impossible 3 years ago. The March rain drummed steadily against my office windows, creating the perfect soundtrack for business. My phone buzzed. Victoria's name appeared on the screen like a ghost from another lifetime. I removed my reading glasses deliberately, set them beside the contract I'd been reviewing, let it ring 3 times before answering. Hello, Victoria. Alexander. Her voice carried that same syrupy sweetness she'd perfected during our marriage. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. You never worried about that before. I leaned back in my leather chair, pen poised over a notepad. What do you need? It's about Sophia. The rehearsed tremor in her voice was almost artistic. She's facing an unexpected financial crisis, and I thought, well, as her father, background noise filtered through the connection, papers rustling, whispered urgency I couldn't quite make out. What kind of crisis? I kept my voice neutral, professional, the same tone I'd use with a contractor trying to inflate estimates. Poor business decisions. The creditors are threatening legal action. Her breathing quickened slightly. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't an emergency. She could lose everything. Tell him about the legal troubles came clearly through the phone. Sophia's voice sharp with anxiety. Victoria's pause lasted exactly 3 seconds. I mean, the situation is quite serious. How serious? I wrote performance on my notepad, circled it twice. Just $50,000 would solve the immediate crisis. The number tumbled out too quickly, too practiced. I know it's a lot, but ask for more, Mom. Sophia's coaching carried perfectly through whatever cheap speakerphone they were using. The silence that followed could have cut glass. I see. I set down my pen, amazed at how transparent desperation made people. And what makes you think I have that kind of money lying around? Well, I heard Victoria's voice cracked like thin ice. People talk, you know, about your success. People talk about many things. I swiveled my chair towards the window, watching rain streak down glass that probably costs more than their monthly rent. not all of it accurate. Alexander, please, she's your daughter. My daughter threw me out with $10 and called me a failure. The words came out, calm, measured, factual. Now she needs $50,000 from a failure. That was different. She was upset. She was honest. I picked up my coffee cup, savored the rich warmth. Brutally, refreshingly honest. But you're her father. Family means not 1 cent. The finality in my voice surprised even me. Ever. You can't be serious. I ended the call mid-sentence and set the phone aside. The rain continued its steady percussion against my windows, washing the city clean while leaving the important things untouched. Exactly what I'd expected. Exactly what I'd hoped. I sat back in my chair for exactly 30 seconds, then reached for my personal cell phone. Time for a little test of my own. Friday morning brought crisp sunlight through my office windows, transforming Charles River into hammered silver. I'd spent the previous evening planning my approach, and now sat with fresh coffee phone recording app ready, prepared to confirm what I already suspected. The call to Sophia would settle everything. I practiced my defeated tone twice, then dialed her number. She answered on the second ring, voice bright with expectation. Dad, I was hoping you'd call. Sophia, sweetheart, I injected just enough tremor to sound authentic. I have terrible news about my investments. What kind of news? Her eagerness dimmed noticeably. The market took a terrible turn yesterday. I've lost almost everything. The lie came easier than expected. Property values collapsed, leverage positions called in. It's a disaster. Silence stretched between us like a chasm opening. How much is everything? She asked carefully. I'm meeting with bankruptcy lawyers next week. I paused for effect, staring at my actual bank statement showing 8 figures. The foreclosure notices start arriving Monday. Foreclosure notices? Her voice had gone flat, calculating. But you said you were doing well. I thought I was. Turns out I was over-leveraged, too confident. I allowed genuine sadness to creep in, not for lost money, but for what I was about to discover. I'm so sorry this affects our Saturday plans. The pause that followed lasted exactly 12 seconds. I counted. What does this mean exactly? Sophia's tone had shifted completely. No sympathy, no comfort. Pure arithmetic. How much is left? Maybe enough for a small apartment if I'm lucky. I closed my eyes, bracing for impact. I know this changes everything for you. What? Seriously? The mask slipped entirely now. Then don't come to dinner Saturday. No hesitation. No, we'll figure it out together. Or money doesn't matter. Just cold dismissal, swift as a blade between ribs. I understand completely. My voice stayed steady through sheer force of will. This changes everything for you. I mean, what's the point if you can't? She caught herself, but too late. I'm sorry, Dad, but this is really complicated timing. Thank you for being so direct about your feelings. It's not about feelings, it's about goodbye, Sophia. I ended the call and sat motionless for a full minute, staring at the phone. 28 years of fatherhood reduced to a transaction, and when the money disappeared, so did the daughter. The recording had captured everything. Her voice, her priorities, her complete lack of concern for my supposed devastation. Perfect evidence of what I'd already known but needed confirmed. I saved the file with today's date and opened my laptop. Time to learn exactly what my family had been hiding from me. The weekend disappeared into research and planning. By Monday morning, I'd compiled enough surface information to know I needed professional help. Sophia's failed business venture showed dozens of customer complaints across multiple platforms. Victoria's Instagram medical fundraising looked increasingly suspicious under scrutiny. Julian Ford's downtown office occupied the 15th floor of a glass tower overlooking Boston Harbor, former FBI, according to his credentials, now specializing in financial fraud investigations. Exactly what I needed. Mr. Kane. Ford was younger than expected, mid-40s with sharp eyes and a firm handshake. You mentioned needing background verification on 2 individuals. I settled into the client chair, noting the diplomas and commendations covering his walls. Professional competence radiated from every surface. My daughter and ex-wife have approached me for significant financial assistance. I kept my tone businesslike, factual. I need complete background checks before making any decisions. Standard due diligence. Ford opened a fresh file folder. What specific areas concern you? Any legal vulnerabilities, fraudulent activities, or misrepresented circumstances? I slid across the basic information sheets I'd prepared. Discretion is essential. They cannot know about this investigation. Ford reviewed the documents sufficiently. 1 week for comprehensive reports. My fee is $5,000. Expenses included. Acceptable. I wrote the check immediately. How detailed will your findings be? Everything legally obtainable. Public records, court filings, business registrations, customer complaints, social media analysis. He tucked the check into the folder. If there's deception involved, I'll find it. Wednesday brought the preliminary report. Ford's voice carried no judgment, just facts delivered with professional precision. Your daughter operated an online store called Lux Living Essentials from January through October 2023. He slid documentation across his desk. She collected approximately $150,000 from customers and delivered virtually nothing. The evidence was damning. Screenshots of fake product listings, customer complaint compilations, payment records showing money collected but no fulfillment. Sophia had run a systematic fraud operation. Multiple customers are considering legal action, Ford continued, but they lack organization. No formal charges filed yet. What about my ex-wife? More interesting. Ford opened a second folder. She's raised significant money through Instagram medical fundraising, claiming various illnesses. Medical records show no serious health issues whatsoever. Friday's final meeting completed the picture. Ford's comprehensive dossier revealed the full scope of their deceptions, tax implications for unreported income, potential criminal charges for fraud, a web of lies that went deeper than I'd imagined. Your ex-wife's unreported donation income could trigger federal tax investigations. Ford explained, your daughter faces potential felony charges if customers organized properly. I studied the thick folders, amazed at how thoroughly they'd constructed their house of cards. Both women living on borrowed time, borrowed money, borrowed credibility. Excellent work. I stood to leave, folders tucked securely under my arm. Send your final invoice to my business address. The drive home took exactly 23 minutes, time enough to process what I'd learned, to appreciate the scope of possibilities now available. They'd handed me every weapon I needed for perfect legal revenge. Back in my office, I spread the evidence across my mahogany desk, like battle plans, customer contact information, documentation of fraud, proof of tax evasion, everything necessary to orchestrate their complete downfall. He closed the thick folder and reached for his phone. Time to start making some very interesting phone calls to very frustrated people. Thursday evening brought the satisfying weight of complete information. Julian Ford's files covered my mahogany desk like battle plans. Customer complaint lists, medical records, fraud documentation. 3 years of systematic deception laid bare in black and white. I arranged the evidence in neat stacks, savoring the irony. They'd built their house of cards so carefully, never imagining someone might document every lie, every theft, every manipulated tear shed for fake sympathy. Time for the performance of a lifetime. Sophia answered on the first ring, voice tight with barely contained anxiety. Dad? Sophia, sweetheart. I injected just enough excitement to sound authentic. You won't believe what happened. That emergency deal I mentioned came through. Wait, what emergency deal? I thought you lost everything. Market volatility, you know? One day you're down, the next you're up. I flipped through her fraud files while speaking, studying photographs of products that never existed. I not only recovered everything, but made an additional $3 million in the process. The silence that followed lasted exactly 8 seconds. I could practically hear the gears shifting in her head. Oh my goodness. Her voice transformed completely, desperation replaced by calculated sweetness. That's incredible. I'm so happy for you. I suppose that Saturday dinner invitation is back on the table. About Saturday, she paused, gathering her courage. I was hoping we could still have that family dinner. I've missed you so much, and I think it would be wonderful for us to reconnect as a family. The same voice that had coldly dismissed me 24 hours earlier now dripped with artificial warmth. Textbook manipulation exactly as predicted. Of course, sweetheart, family comes first. I turned to Victoria's medical records, noting the complete absence of any serious illness. Though I have to ask, how are you doing financially? You seemed concerned about something earlier. Well, she drew out the word, preparing her pitch. I hate to even mention this, but I've been having some business difficulties. Nothing serious, just cash flow problems. What kind of problems? Customer complaints, mostly. Some people are claiming they never received their orders, but I'm sure it's just shipping delays. The lie came so naturally, I almost admired the skill. If you could spare just $200,000, it would solve everything. Give me time to sort out these misunderstandings. $200,000? Quite specific for someone with mere cash flow problems. That's a considerable amount, I said thoughtfully. Let me think about how best to help my daughter. Really? You'd consider it? The relief in her voice was palpable. Dad, you have no idea how much this means to me. We'll discuss it properly on Saturday. I'll need to move some funds around, but family is family. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you. I ended the call and leaned back in my chair, studying the evidence spread before me. 150,000 stolen from customers. Dozens of people she'd cheated, ignored, dismissed as unimportant. Yet she'd asked me for $200,000, without hesitation. The daughter I'd raised had become a stranger capable of systematic fraud. The test call had confirmed my worst fears, while simultaneously providing perfect justification for what came next. He ended the call and reached for the business card Julian Ford had included with the file. Time to introduce some very frustrated people to the concept of justice. Friday morning found me in Preston Lyle's downtown office. Complete evidence files spread across his conference table like pieces of a complex puzzle. Rain streaked the windows 40 floors above Boston Harbor, creating the perfect backdrop for planning legal warfare. This is solid evidence. Alexander. Preston reviewed the fraud documentation with professional detachment. She's clearly committed intentional fraud, not mere business incompetence. I'd known Preston for 15 years. Poker nights, holiday parties, the kind of friendship that survives divorce and career changes. He understood both my legal needs and emotional investment in this case. How quickly can we move once the papers are served? The timing you're requesting is aggressive, but entirely legal. He organized customer complaints into chronological order. Process server can be there at 7:30 tomorrow evening. That gives you time to arrive first. Perfect. I want her to understand that actions have consequences. Are you certain about this approach? Once we start, there's no going back. Preston's concern was genuine, professional. Your daughter will face serious financial and possibly criminal consequences. She chose this path when she decided to steal from innocent people. The afternoon dissolved into systematic phone calls. Julian Ford's contact list provided names, numbers, and loss amounts for 23 defrauded customers. Each conversation followed the same pattern: initial skepticism, growing excitement, eager participation in collective legal action. Lisa Moreno, a 34-year-old teacher from Worcester, emerged as the natural spokesperson for the group. Her voice carried the controlled anger of someone who'd been professionally polite for too long. "We've been trying to find her for months," she explained during our third conversation. $5,000 for a dining room set that never existed. I saved for 8 months for that furniture. "You won't be alone anymore," I assured her. "Professional legal representation, shared costs, maximum impact. You're serious about helping us? What's your connection to Sophia Kane? I'm a concerned citizen with access to her current location and substantial evidence of systematic fraud." By evening, Preston's team had worked overtime preparing comprehensive lawsuit documentation. The conference room buzzed with focused energy, paralegals organizing evidence, associates researching precedents, everyone understanding the importance of perfect legal execution. "Process server confirmed for tomorrow evening," Preston announced, reviewing the final timeline. "Private residence, multiple witnesses present. This will be memorable." Saturday morning brought final coordination calls. Ethan Park, our process server, had 20 years' experience with difficult situations. His calm professionalism promised flawless execution. "Family dinner setting means emotional witnesses," he explained. "Perfect for psychological impact, assuming that's your goal. Psychological impact is exactly the goal. Service will be thorough, professional, and completely legal. She'll have no grounds for procedural appeals." The legal machinery was in motion. 23 victims would finally see justice, backed by ironclad evidence and proper representation. Sophia's house of cards would collapse in front of the family that had enabled her fraud through willful ignorance. I reviewed the coordinated attack timeline one final time. Legal papers for Sophia at 7:30, maximum family impact, no escape routes, no legal technicalities, no mercy for systematic theft disguised as business failure. He left Preston's office with legal justice in motion and reached for his phone again. Time to ensure Victoria faced her own reckoning through different channels. Saturday afternoon demanded precision timing. The legal assault on Sophia was locked and loaded, but Victoria required a different approach. Medical fraud deserved public exposure. Tax evasion warranted federal investigation. I arranged to meet Amanda Ruiz at a neutral downtown coffee shop. The Boston Herald's investigative reporter specialized in social media fraud. Perfect credentials for dismantling Instagram influencer scams. "I have documented evidence of systematic fraud by a major Boston area Instagram influencer," I began, sliding the manila envelope across the small table. Amanda's professional skepticism was immediate. "Anonymous sources require exceptional verification." "What kind of fraud?" "She's collected over $200,000 in donations for a fake medical condition." I watched her expression shift from doubt to sharp interest. "The medical records prove she's never had the illness she's been claiming." She opened the envelope carefully, scanning Julian Ford's documentation with practiced efficiency. Medical records, Instagram analytics, income estimates, everything needed for a devastating exposé. These are serious allegations requiring substantial fact-checking. Her voice carried the controlled excitement of a journalist sensing major story potential. Instagram influencer fraud is becoming epidemic, but this level of medical deception is particularly egregious. "This isn't revenge journalism," I assured her. "This is public service, protecting future victims from sophisticated medical manipulation. If this checks out, we can publish online within hours. The tax implications alone will trigger federal investigation." While Amanda began her verification process, I contacted the IRS tip line. Robert Lee, a Boston office tax fraud investigator, specialized in social media income tax evasion cases. "I'm reporting systematic tax evasion by an individual with substantial unreported social media income," I explained, providing Victoria's details and evidence summary. "What's your relationship to the subject? How did you obtain this information?" "I'm a concerned citizen with access to publicly available information and legitimate financial records obtained through legal investigation." We'll need documented evidence of income sources and tax filing discrepancies. Can you provide specific dollar amounts and time periods? Complete documentation is being transmitted to your office today. Estimated unreported income exceeds $200,000 over 18 months. The coordination was flawless. Amanda would publish her exposé online at 8:00, precisely during our family dinner. The IRS investigation would begin Monday morning with formal audit proceedings. Victoria's reputation would crumble while she sat at her own dinner table, probably checking Instagram for validation she'd never receive again. Instagram will likely shut down her account once this goes viral, Amanda noted during our final coordination call. That's actually perfect timing, maximum impact, minimum recovery time. The tax investigation will take months, but the reputation damage is immediate and permanent. Justice comes in many forms. Sometimes social consequences are more effective than legal ones. By 5:30, both attacks were coordinated and ready. Legal papers for Sophia at 7:30. Media destruction for Victoria at 8:00. A perfect storm of consequences for 3 years of systematic deception and family betrayal. I close my laptop and check my watch. In 2 hours, justice would finally be served alongside dinner. The 45-minute drive to Worcester gave me time to savor the approaching moment. March evening, traffic flowed smoothly, as if the universe itself was coordinating my arrival. I pulled into the familiar driveway at exactly 7, punctuality being crucial for what came next. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Warm light spilled from the dining room windows, creating an illusion of domestic tranquility that would soon shatter like cheap glass. I carried an elegant gift box, empty but perfectly wrapped for psychological effect. Every detail mattered in the performance I was about to deliver. Alexander. Victoria opened the door with theatrical enthusiasm, jewelry glinting from recent donation purchases. You look wonderful. Success really suits you. It's good to be back in this house, I replied, stepping into the foyer where I'd once been handed $10 and my walking papers. Brings back so many memories. The dining room table was set for 4, candles flickering over Victoria's best china. Sophia emerged from the kitchen, nervously smoothing her dress, clearly chosen to project success she didn't possess. Dad. Her embrace felt calculated, practiced. I'm so glad you could make it despite everything that happened recently. Water under the bridge, sweetheart. I placed the gift box prominently on the side table. I brought a special surprise for everyone, but good things come to those who wait. Bradley nodded from his position near the television, uncomfortable in formal attire, but trying to play supportive husband. His discomfort was palpable. The man clearly sensed undercurrents he couldn't identify. Dinner conversation flowed with forced pleasantries. Victoria played gracious hostess while Sophia built confidence for her financial pitch. I checked my watch discreetly. 7:25. 5 minutes until the first surprise arrived. We were thinking, Sophia began right on schedule. Since you've been so successful with investments, maybe we could discuss a family partnership. Family is everything, Victoria added, reaching across to squeeze my hand. We should always be there for each other. Absolutely. I agreed, watching the second hand sweep toward 7:30. Success suits you too, Sophia. You look like someone who's really figured things out. The irony was delicious. Here she sat, discussing investment opportunities while hiding from defrauded customers, planning to request money from the fathers she'd discarded like garbage. It's not really a loan, Sophia continued, warming to her rehearsed pitch. More like a partnership between father and daughter. $200,000 would solve some immediate cash flow issues and position us for amazing returns. 200,000? I repeated thoughtfully. That's quite specific. The doorbell rang at precisely 7:30. Sophia froze mid-sentence, confusion flickering across her features. Were we expecting someone? How unexpected, I said, barely containing my satisfaction. "What remarkable timing." She rose reluctantly, clearly annoyed by the interruption to her carefully planned presentation. Through the dining room doorway, I watched her open the front door to a professional-look man in a business suit. "Sophia Kane, I have legal documents for you from the Suffolk County Superior Court." The color drained from her face instantly. "What? There must be some mistake. You're being served with a class action lawsuit regarding fraudulent business practices and customer deception. Please sign here acknowledging receipt." "This is ridiculous," Victoria called from the dining room. "We're having a family dinner here." But I could see Sophia's hands shaking as she fumbled with the legal papers. Reality crashing through her carefully constructed facade like a wrecking ball through tissue paper. "Ma'am, this is regarding the Lux Living Essentials online store and multiple counts of intentional fraud." The process server's professional calm contrasted sharply with the chaos now erupting in what had been a peaceful family gathering. Sophia stumbled back toward the dining room, papers rustling in her trembling fingers. Victoria was already reaching for her phone, confident she could solve anything with the right connections. She had no idea her own reckoning was loading on her screen. "With your resources, Alexander, we can hire the best lawyers in Boston." Victoria's voice carried the confident authority of someone accustomed to manipulating her way out of problems. "This is just a misunderstanding that money can solve." I remained seated, watching the scene unfold with the satisfaction of a conductor directing a symphony. Sophia clutched the legal documents, her face pale, as she began comprehending the scope of her troubles. "I know an attorney through Instagram who specializes in these situations," Victoria continued, already scrolling through her phone contacts. "A few strategic calls will clear everything up." "How many customers are listed here?" Sophia's voice cracked as she scanned the lawsuit details. $150,000. I don't have that kind of money. "We stick together as family," Victoria declared, still confident in her ability to orchestrate solutions. "That's what families do." She opened Instagram to contact her legal connections, but her expression shifted immediately from confidence to confusion. The screen was flooded with notifications, thousands of angry comments and messages appearing faster than she could process them. "What? Why are there thousands of comments calling me a fraud?" Her voice grew smaller with each word as she scrolled through the digital avalanche. "Someone posted an article. Local influencer's fake illness exposed." I checked my watch. 8:05. Amanda Ruiz's article had published exactly on schedule. "They have my medical records." Victoria's panic was building as she read her phone screen. "How is that possible? These people are saying I stole money from cancer patients." Bradley moved closer, reading over her shoulder. "Victoria, what illness? What are these people talking about? It's lies, all lies." But her voice lacked conviction as she frantically tried to delete comments that appeared faster than she could remove them. "Alexander, you have to help us. Use your money to make this go away. Make it go away?" I finally spoke, my voice calm as a lake surface. "Justice doesn't disappear because you're uncomfortable with it." Sophia looked up from her legal papers, finally grasping the coordination. "Dad, did you know about this?" "I find it fascinating how quickly family loyalty appears when legal consequences arrive." I stood slowly, straightening my jacket. "The timing is remarkable, isn't it? First your legal troubles, now this article about your mother's medical fraud." "Medical fraud?" Bradley's voice carried genuine shock as pieces fell into place. "Victoria, you've been lying about being sick. Her Instagram account was imploding in real time. Screenshots of the Boston Herald article spread across multiple platforms, amplifying the scandal exponentially. Comments ranged from disappointed followers demanding refunds to angry donors threatening legal action." "This is coordinated," Victoria whispered, the full scope of her destruction becoming clear. Someone planned this. I already gave you both my surprise, I said, moving toward the door as chaos reached its crescendo. It's called accountability. You can't just leave us like this. Sophia's desperation was complete now, both women realizing their last hope for salvation was walking away. We're family. I paused at the threshold, savoring the moment I'd waited 3 years to deliver. 3 years ago, you threw me out with $10 and called me worthless. My voice carried the weight of every humiliation, every sleepless night in that industrial motel, every moment of grinding poverty they dismissed. Tonight you learned what that was really worth. The door closed behind me with the finality of justice, served cold and complete. Through the window, I could see both women staring at their phones, watching their carefully constructed lives collapse in real time, while Bradley backed away from the wreckage of his marriage. 4 months later, I stood on a Florida beach, watching the sun dissolve into the Atlantic Ocean. The warm sand beneath my feet felt like the opposite of everything that industrial motel had represented. Poverty, humiliation, desperation replaced by choice, abundance, and peace. Preston had called that morning with the final legal updates. His voice carried satisfaction when he delivered the court's decision. Sophia received the maximum civil judgment. He'd reported $153,000 in restitution plus court costs. The judge was particularly harsh about the systematic nature of her fraud. And the criminal charges, felony fraud, conviction, 3 years probation, community service, and permanent criminal record. Any future employer will see those charges. The legal machinery had ground forward with inexorable precision. 23 victims received full compensation, while Sophia faced a decade of minimum wage jobs and garnished paychecks. Justice delivered through proper channels, exactly as I'd planned. Victoria's destruction had been equally thorough, but more public. Amanda Ruiz's article triggered an avalanche of investigative journalism. Every donation, every fake medical claim, every tax discrepancy exposed for public consumption. Her Instagram account was permanently banned. Her influencer career obliterated overnight. The IRS audit revealed $200,000 in unreported income. Penalties and back taxes consumed every asset she'd accumulated through deception. She now worked commercial cleaning jobs while living in a studio apartment, her glamorous lifestyle replaced by harsh economic reality. Bradley had filed for divorce in May, protecting his business assets while distancing himself from his wife's criminal behavior. Even passive enablers faced consequences when fraud reached sufficient scale. My phone buzzed with a real estate alert. Another property opportunity in downtown Boston, another chance to build legitimate wealth through actual skill rather than manipulation. I'd expanded my portfolio systematically, each success built on honest evaluation and hard work. "You seem so peaceful here," said Rebecca, the attorney I'd met during my Grand Canyon trip last month. She was intelligent, successful, honest, everything my previous family relationships had lacked. Like you've let go of something heavy. "I learned that some people earn their place in your life," I replied, watching waves erase footprints in the sand. "Others simply occupy space until you realize their true value." 3 years ago, I'd measured my worth by their approval. Now I understood that real value came from character, integrity, and the courage to demand justice when betrayed. The $10 they'd handed me wasn't an insult. It was accurate assessment of what they thought family loyalty was worth, but they had miscalculated everything else. The vacation rental behind us represented choice rather than necessity. The investment portfolio generated passive income that would compound for decades. The relationships I'd built were based on mutual respect rather than manipulation or need. Sometimes I wondered if Sophia had learned anything from her consequences. Court-ordered community service at a homeless shelter might teach her what real hardship looked like. Perhaps watching actual struggling families would provide perspective on the customers she'd defrauded. Victoria would probably never change. Narcissists rarely developed insight from consequences, but at least her ability to harm others was permanently diminished. Public exposure had destroyed her platform and credibility. The sun disappeared into the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Tomorrow I'd fly home to Boston, where new opportunities waited alongside the satisfaction of justice achieved through patience and proper channels. 3 years ago, they'd left me with $10 and called me worthless. Today, I understood my true value had nothing to do with their opinions and everything to do with my character. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.